The kindest thing you can say is that it may have started with some good intentions, but what ended up happening to David Reimer was a monstrous and totally failed medical experiment. When he was 8 months old, little David was the victim of a botched circumcision. It was the late 1960s, and to minimise the trauma he might have experienced growing up, a psychologist convinced the then baby's parents to surgically alter him and raise him as a girl. So David became Brenda, even though he always knew that wasn't the real him. He then lived a terrible existence as he fought to reclaim his manhood. In 2000, Jeff McMullen reported this tragic and shocking story for 60 Minutes.
My journey was survival. When I was young, very young, I wasn't sure of what I was, but my main concern was survival.
This is where it all began.
David Reimer's journey began in a hospital by the river that runs through Winnipeg, Canada. It was here, 34 years ago, his mother Janet gave birth to him and his brother Brian, two normal, healthy baby boys, identical twins.
I was so ecstatic I couldn't believe that God was smiling on me with such a great blessing. And my husband was so ecstatic that he had twins. When the nurse asked him, boy or girl, he says, I don't know, it's two of them.
But the parents' joy soon turned to despair when at 8 months of age, the twins went back to hospital for a routine circumcision, which for David went horribly wrong.
The doctor came in and he looked at us and he said, the penis is burnt. And a couple of days later they let me see him, and it was like a piece of heavy string burnt right up to the crotch. And I asked the urologist, won't it grow? And he said, no, it wouldn't. So then we began the hunt. What to do?
Are you having good results with the people upon whom you've operated?
Yes, I think we can say that is true.
It was this psychologist, New Zealand-born Dr. John Money, who offered David salvation. In the 60s, Dr. Money was telling the world that no matter what nature decreed, it was possible to nurture a boy missing a penis in such a fashion he'd grow up really believing he was a girl.
It's a reassignment of sexual role with hormonal treatments and surgical treatment.
It may sound now like science fiction, a monstrous experiment by a mad or misguided scientist, but it happened here at one of America's most celebrated medical institutions. With the 22-month-old Canadian child, a team of doctors claimed an astonishing world first, changing a genetically normal baby boy into a girl. The team leader, Dr. John Money, said that with a combination of radical surgery, hormone treatment and psychotherapy, this little boy was growing up happily believing he was a girl.
They removed my son's testicles.
And this, in Dr. Money's view, was going to make that final transition, to make that little boy believe that he was a girl.
The skin from the testicles was still there. And that was left there on purpose to provide skin to build the vulva.
It was trying to brainwash me to be something I'm not, which was to be a girl. At the same time, to observe, to study, like you would a bug.
An experiment.
An experiment.
For all of the games that the psychiatrists were playing with you, did you ever feel like a girl?
No.
At home and school, he was called Brenda. But he knew he was someone else, somehow different, and the other kids wouldn't let him forget it.
I was called cave woman, you name it. I got booted out of the bathrooms.
Was there anyone who was truly kind to you at school?
I had some girls that were nice to me around grade 6, but the teacher kind of set them aside and said, you know, Brenda doesn't have any friends. Would you mind hanging around her and make her feel welcome? For that, I'm grateful.
I believed what Dr. Money said, and I thought with time it would get easier and it would become automatic. And that's why, because it became so automatic for myself, that I didn't see my son crying out or my daughter crying out against what was happening. I didn't see, I was blinded by my own brainwashing.
I always call these cases matched pairs.
Dr.
They
Money
matched
had
because
everyone
they had the
fooled.
same history
He was
before they
making
were
a
born.
name for himself,
And they had the
turning
same
boys into
diagnosis when they were
girls,
born.
and himself into a star.
It makes it very exciting, don't you think, to live in an age of discovery of human personality this way.
Dr. Money refuses to answer our questions. Who is this man who's tried to rewrite the human race?
Money is an amazing, brilliant, charismatic, astonishingly hardworking individual. Just someone that rocketed to the top of his profession.
John Colapinto, a New York author, has just written a book about the extraordinary life of the boy who was raised as a girl. He spent years investigating Dr. Money's controversial theories. Did some of Dr. Money's so-called counselling sessions with the twins go way beyond what could be called therapy?
It's hard. I think the answer to that is yes. I mean, when David and Brian described to me that one of the parts of their therapy was to assume sexual positions with each other, David on all fours, Brian coming up from behind, or actually lying in the missionary position with each other in attitudes of sexual intercourse. That struck me as really, bizarre therapy and probably indefensible.
You don't talk about it, and yet it's so horrific.
Having a pair of identical twins made for the perfect scientific experiment, comparing the behaviour of the boy, Brian, and his so-called sister. But Dr. Money never told the parents what he was really doing with the twins in the name of science. And Brian, you'd kept that secret all those years?
Yes. Not a shame. This is something that's unforgivable.
That's not something you don't talk about.
You don't talk about it, and yet it's so horrific. It's child abuse.
If I would have done the things that he's done, I would be in prison. But I don't have a degree or a diploma to hide behind. I don't feel it's right. Children got no business seeing pornography. Children have no business being stripped naked and photographed. Children have no business in sexual positions. That's sick.
Was it about that time that you told your parents you couldn't go on with this? That you would do yourself in if they made you go back to Dr. Money?
Yeah, I figured it's no longer my life anymore. So, I said, I'm not making any decisions for myself. I can't go back. If I go back, I'm going to kill myself. That's it. We never went back.
At this point, when the twins were 14, their parents at last decided to tell them the truth. Surprisingly, David wasn't angry, he was relieved.
Well, when you feel that you're not insane, that is a relief. I thought I was literally going crazy. You're told that you're a girl and you don't like nothing that's concerning a girl or anything like this. And then you're told that you're born a boy and that biologically you are a boy. So, you're not going crazy after all.
Have you ever had the chance to confront Dr. Money since you learned the truth?
No. I don't believe he'd want to see me. And even if he did, he wouldn't want to hear anything I had to say. Well, he's done so many years in his research. You know, it's like opening up a can of worms. Everyone's terrified.
John has never admitted he was wrong about this case, and according to friends about anything. I mean, he's not really given to admitting that he was wrong about things.
Has the Johns Hopkins Institute ever admitted there was a mistake here?
No, Johns Hopkins never has. They've never, ever said anything about this case.
In about 1967, the parents saw John Money on Canadian television advocating the fact that gender identity is a malleable behavior, and they went to see Money, and here at Hopkins, David Reimer was converted to a female. He was castrated.
After 30 years of silence from Johns Hopkins, one brave psychiatrist has decided to speak out.
It was an unmitigated disaster for him, for his brother, for his family.
Dr. Bill Reimer was once a pediatric surgeon who performed sex reassignments on baby boys. But he put down his scalpel when he saw the damage this was doing.
After I had been in practice for a period of about 6 or 7 years, I had a child who came to me who said, I'm not really a girl, I'm really a boy. And this child had lived what he considered and stated to be a lie simply because it was easier and more convenient until he reached a point that he couldn't go on any further.
Dr. Reimer, now a senior child psychiatrist at Johns Hopkins, has disclosed to 60 Minutes the results of his yet unpublished studies on children who've gone through sex reassignment. Has this whole experiment been a total failure?
Well, in addition to the David Reimer case that was a total failure, I follow 24 children and young adults who were all 46XY males born without a penis. Of the 24, 16, or 2/3 of them, have spontaneously shifted to male between the ages of 5 and 14. So I think 2/3 shifting is pretty dramatic.
As a father of a boy and a girl, I find it absolutely astonishing that anyone could think that you could take a boy and raise him as a girl. I mean, it flies in the face of what you see every day.
Well, that's right. I think if more mothers had been questioned about this, perhaps the whole approach would have been different.
For the last 30 years, most of the biggest children's hospitals around the world have heeded Dr. Money's advice to sexually reassign babies that are born with damaged or mixed up genitalia. We have learned that Australia's children's hospitals are still doing this, despite the dramatic failure of the David Reimer case and despite growing evidence that true sexual identity is established well before a baby is born.
The procedure needs to be stopped. I think it is quite clear at this time that it is a failure. It is going to create drastic problems for the children and the families who are sex reassigned. We have to stand up and say, this didn't work, we need to change. And that's what I'm arguing now.
In an ethical sense, do you believe that Johns Hopkins owes David Reimer an apology for what happened to him?
I think that we have made ethical errors. In the 21st century sense of ethics, we have made ethical errors from the past. It's quite clear that errors were made. And I think that the most important thing is that we change. And I think that the real heroism of David Reimer is that he has been willing to stand up and tell some of the most intimate parts of his life to the world in order to try to accomplish change.
To resume life as a male, David Reimer has had to endure even more pain. A double mastectomy to remove the breasts he grew after being subjected to injections of female hormone. And year after year in hospital to rebuild his manhood.
Well, I got my penis rebuilt. Took them quite a few years to get the technology to get everything set up, but it didn't come without a cost. I mean, as you could see, I got this big ugly scar. You know, I got a scar over here. I got a scar over here for my, that's for my artery, because they needed the artery to keep the blood going. And it's not just the pain and the surgeries, it's the psychological process and all of this. I mean, when I first looked at this arm in the hospital, I had no idea what to expect until I saw my arm. And I cried my eyes out.
David is now married to Jane, a woman who understands him, who sees him for what he is, a caring man who's a great father to her 3 kids, a brave man, a real man. After what you've been through, where do you believe your sexual identity started?
It's through my mind, it's through my brain. That's what determines who you are.
So the penis is not the centre of the universe?
No. I don't know. I could be an iron lung. I'd still be a man.
I think that anyone who reads your story will see that you're a hero, not a victim.
Well, I don't feel comfortable with that word hero. I don't feel like I'm not a hero. I'm, if anything, a survivor. I'm not a hero.
Hero or survivor, back in 2000, they were both appropriate descriptions for David. But tragically, life didn't get any better for him. 2 years after that interview first aired, David's twin brother, Brian, died of a drug overdose. And 2 years after that, 38-year-old David took his own life. His lasting legacy, however, was to expose the horrors of forced sexual reassignment perpetrated by now discredited elements of the medical community. Now, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our 60 Minutes Australia channel for brand new stories, podcasts, and exclusive interviews. And for full episodes of 60 Minutes, head to 9 Now.